Well, we know what the ruling of the Supreme Court is, and then for all those who registered before the last election, getting their names on that very voters register with the NHIA card especially, it means that the Electoral Commission will need to, well, if they want to go according to the ruling of the Supreme Court, make sure those names are deleted, but give them an opportunity to bring the right document and get themselves registered as voters to participate in the next elections. But the man behind it all is Abu Ramadan, and he was one time or a former youth leader for the PNC. When I say youth leader, it reminds me of the NC, but we call it youth organizer in our country. How are you, Abu, my good friend? It's been a while.
Yeah.
All right.
You're looking good.
Okay. How's Dr. Free?
I know he's doing well.
We all used to do some things together. Yeah.
He's now battling hard to win the seat.
Yeah. Yeah.
To go to Parliament.
Yes, I know. I know as a parliamentary candidate. But this whole crusade of making sure that you put things right with the elections, etc. When did it all start? Because I know that you do a lot more advocacy and you're part of pressure groupings and things like that.
I would say my greatest motivation is the late Commissioner of Police, Ando Kofi.
Okay.
Police Commissioner Ando Kofi. He was the greatest of inspirations to me with regards to this. It's unfortunate he's not here to celebrate the success.
He passed on, and he was just buried not too long ago.
Yeah, we celebrated his 1 year just in January this year. The struggle started with him when he was the first to point out the legality of the use of the health insurance and registry. So in a discussion, we had an extensive discussion, and I also raised issues with it. We had an argument, and he told me, why don't you test the law? So he encouraged me actually to try and test the law, and this is where it's brought us. This way
but it's incisive. Well, it depends on which side of the political divide you are. And somebody will say, well, you're just using all these legalities to delay and etc. of the election. But the most important thing about the ruling is it points out that for all the things we've been saying in the conversation or in the narrative, they were true after all. That people registered with the NHI, they shouldn't have been on the, and that even what the court ruling earlier said about retrospection and things like that, we need to put things right. How do we go about it in the first place, in your estimation?
I'll be surprised should anybody think I want to delay the process. I'm not interested in seeing John Mahama stay one more day beyond his mandate given him by the Constitution of the Republic of Ghana. So delaying is never part of my thinking. I would want him to exit on the 7th of January, peacefully handing over power to the newly elected government. And we would not want to see him move beyond that. And there are no caveats, no constitutional instrument to say, oh, because we've not had an election, so I'm hanging on to power. No, I'm not interested. But the way forward, the court has said, go delete. Give opportunity for people to re-register. Clean the register. The directives of the Supreme Court is straightforward. I would expect the Electoral Commission by now to start thinking of how best to bring together myself and my brother Evans Nimakun, who are the applicants in this matter, and political parties, so that we can all sit down and look at how best to implement the decision of the Supreme Court. Rather than engaging us in a banter where they supposedly want us to believe that the process has already started. Because per the Electoral Commission, what the
response
Georgina, is it Georgina? I'm forgetting her name. She's a lawyer. Yeah, she's a lawyer too, and I'm surprised. I'm surprised that a lawyer who should understand the ruling of the court better than I should will tell me that, oh, we've started the processes already. As part of your application or your affidavit they swore in opposition to our application, they added a copy of the roadmap or the proposal by the Electoral Commission on ways of cleaning the voters' register. It was part of the application. So if the court has read your entire application and regardless of your proposal, has gone ahead to say go and delete, give opportunity, and clean it immediately, that should tell you that the court doesn't agree with you or is not interested in the roadmap you have drawn. Because if the court would have said, okay, use the roadmap or the procedures you have laid out as basis to clean the register, doing A, B, C, D, or D. But the court also says, I don't have the power, I'm not close to the power to tell you how to run your day-to-day activity. No other institution has, no political party, no stakeholder, no Ghanaian, nobody has. The autonomy, they are purely autonomous. So we can't We can't tell them how to run their day to, but when it comes to the issue of constitutionality, then there should be a way. But by virtue of this ruling, we have come back to where we didn't want to get to. If the commission had listened, and one of the hearings, one judge asked, so is it that the commission didn't understand the 2014 ruling it gave on health insurance, or because they didn't give consequential orders thereon after the ruling in 2014 on the health insurance? That's why we've come here, because we wrote a couple of letters to the commission asking them to take action upon the ruling of the court that health insurance, those who register using health insurance should not be on the register. They didn't listen. The court said if you had listened, we wouldn't have been in court today revisiting this issue. So the way forward is for all of us to agree that it is impossible for the commission to tell me that we must sit down and go through 40, and that's the implication of the ruling, because they told the court that on our database, I can't pinpoint Roland Walker what sort of identification he used. But on the primary document, which is the Form 1A, when we go through the Form 1A, we can find what document Roland
Which is the raw data.
Which is the raw data. So it means we must
the one not inputted
into the system. So it means we must put down 14 million applications and go through it one after the other to determine what sort of identification one used. Then sort those ones out. Then now come and have those who use health insurance in their numbers, have them down, then say, okay, we scrapped those names. Now we scrap those names. How do you inform the person who scrapped his name for him to come back and re-register?
Will the person even remember the identification he used also?
So right away, this ruling tells us, is either you're validating or you're putting together a new register. And wherever the money is, the Electoral Commission should go look for the money.
And if you say validating, it means that when you open the register and whoever is or thinks his name is should come.
No, and open the register. Ask every Ghanaian to come back and validate his registration by reproducing a document, which is more easier.
But that's almost like you're re-registering the person.
Yeah, so yes. So you see, you satisfy both. You are taking your name off because you must come and put and give a new form of identification or a proper form of identification, which will be inputted onto the system. Then, after that, a new card is printed out to you. So that's the only way. If not, we must do a new register.
The other side of the argument is perhaps they say you are putting this very interpretation to what the interpretation has been given by the Electoral Commission, by the Supreme Court, that it means that alternatively we have to open the register, make sure people come in and validate, or come and synchronize whatever it is in the register with what they have or they are bringing on board. Is that the way to go? Is that the most feasible way? If we know there's an estimation of, let's say, 600,000 or 1 million people, can't we just go ahead and say we've deleted, and as a result of that, we need those as much as possible through a public announcement, those who can remember they registered with the NHIA card, come forward and re-register?
I don't know, but Richard, do you remember the form of identification you produced at the registration center?
I think I used my passport.
And you are very sure of that?
Yes, I'm very sure.
It took you about a second to
no, because that was the only identification I had at the time.
At the time. And you can ask even your cameraman sitting here whether they will remember the form of identification they said. Very much, it will be difficult for a lot to remember.
Well, that's
very difficult for a lot to remember. So the onus lies on the commission to go through and determine who used what.
And you are saying that is laborious.
That's laborious.
It's not even feasible.
No, that's the only option they have. If not, then they must come to the table and come to terms with a validation process or a new register entirely. It is not as if we're giving them, we're throwing candies at them and saying, oh, come and grab them.
Abu, if the Electoral Commission says that we've begun the process, what, in your understanding, do you think they mean?
Unless they tell us what the process they have begun is, so that we can judge for ourselves whether it is worth waiting for the process to finish or not. Because I don't know what process they would start. Because in any case, this ruling must satisfy with the applicants. For us to realize full and actual justice that for the reason for which we went to court. Whatever action they take should satisfy myself and Ivan Sinemako and my lawyers, and also satisfy the hundreds of millions of Ghanaians who have followed this matter and are excited that finally the ruling has come and somebody can pin the commission down to tell the commission to do the right thing. So whatever processes they want to embark upon to effect this ruling, I would expect them to take into consideration that we must be part of the process. Political parties must be part of the process. Stakeholders must be part of the process. Because Roland, the Supreme Court, one admission or one ruling that the court made that sent shivers down my spine was for the court. Because even me, in my application to have said the voters register was not credible, at the back of my mind, I knew it would be difficult for the Supreme Court to say truly the register is not credible because.
But the Supreme Court was not categorical in the statement.
Reasonably not credible.
Yes.
No, and I don't know what other definition.
But before it reached that very point, it's because it's pointed out that they don't know the number of people who may have registered.
If they knew the NHI, they would have gone outright. They would have
those
gone,
who are dead.
They would have gone outright to say it's not credible.
Sure.
But I said based on the fact that reasonably.
Yes.
So reasonably, I don't know what other definition you give to when they say something is reasonable. When I tell you are being reasonable, I don't know how you would want me to put it again. And clearly, the Supreme Court has said the register is not credible. Finish. How can any party accept the results from a register that is not credible? Which has the credibility of the register has been put in doubt by no mean institution but the Supreme Court of the land of Ghana. Then I don't think that document can carry us through. So the commission, all it should do is to invite all of us. Let's sit down. Let's look at the way forward. You shouldn't bring parties that are dead. I'm not interested in political parties that...
You mean active parties?
I mean active political parties. Parties with representations in parliament. Parties that have shown that they are really credible and political parties that can take us somewhere. Not the donkors and the things and those parties. No, we mean business. Let's bring serious stakeholders to the table and look at the way forward. How do we implement it? Because, Roland, I'm not going to rest until the full implementation of the ruling of the Supreme Court. That one I can assure you. Myself and my brother, Evans Dimaku, won't sleep until the full implementation is done.
But if the parties sit together, and we know that one of the foremost means by which the parties get to interact with the Electoral Commission is through the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, what does it mean? So the Electoral Commission comes in with its processes by which it hopes to follow through with the ruling, and then that should be agreeable with you, the parties on the other side.
If this is the proposals of the commission, whoever they are coming to meet, I expect them to come like this, on a plain sheet of paper, just by their side, the ruling of the Supreme Court. And the big question on the paper is, how do we implement it? So that all stakeholders, so that everyone can bring his or her idea on board as to how we can implement fully the ruling of the court. If not, because the position of the commission, I remember when the court asked us to go and sit down and look at how best we can validate, we can put in motion the validation process. The position of the commission was, oh, we are here to listen, we want to know from you what you're doing, we are here to listen here. So we started the process of discussion. Then the next meeting, commission comes to sit down and tells us that we have taken decisions, these are the decisions we have taken as a commission. It wasn't open for discussion. They have taken as a commission. That ends it.
And now you're saying that a court of law and the highest apex body,
the court of the land,
okay,
I said, go and do it this way.
Has given them an instruction, and they will have no option than to follow through.
One exciting
and you are saying you limit the options to only two.
Yes.
Open 14 million detailed documents, or
go and do a validation process on you,
which is re-registration.
That's it. Well, but I'm happy.
That which one do you like? Which of the options do you like?
Certainly not the laborious one, not the opening of 14.
But you do know very well, Abu Ramadan, that we have only some few months of the election.
The court took into consideration that before giving the ruling, and the court knows that it's doable. The court took into consideration the time frame, because that was one of the cardinal issues the commission raised, that there wasn't time on our side.
But truly, we don't have time.
Yeah, truly, we don't have time, so they should do the right thing. They should stop wasting our time and do the right thing. If they are serious about this election happening in November, they should stop wasting our time. Because we wouldn't agree for them to waste our time and later turn back and say there isn't enough time to prosecute this matter. But Roland, one instructive thing. The court yesterday The court yesterday in its ruling, Justice Badegbe, who read the report on behalf of the judges, was clear that no person or no institution, after they have spent almost 20 minutes highlighting the autonomy of the Electoral Commission and all that, but they said no person or individual or group of people or whoever you can be, whoever you are, should refuse to implement the orders of the court. And that one is high crime, and you can be prosecuted for that.
Well, we know that.
So I'm reminding Madam Georgina.
You don't have to remind them. We all know that in this country, in the current dispensation in which we practice, once the Supreme Court or any court of law gives
Roland, they forgot it. Now, we all know that, but the court added it to his judgment yesterday, read it to us, to remind them. But the posture of the commission, we are already undertaking our processes. But it doesn't end there.
At the end of the period is how feasible this can also be done within the framework of the time that we have. How can the political parties, do you think, in your estimation, need to complement the Electoral Commission to do this? Because very often you work hand in hand.
Complement, I don't know how the political parties, what role they will play. I find it difficult to see what role the political parties will play. All they need to do is when the commission decides, or based on the ruling of the court, the commission is implementing the ruling, is to give it back in by putting agents all over to monitor the process. Aside that, all the job stands with the commission and is with the commission to do. So I don't know how the political parties would come into play in this matter to help the commission. The commission must help itself.
The announcement by the Electoral Commission that it has started the processes, and so it had indeed preempted whatever the ruling would be in terms of what the ruling would have said.
Did they say that?
Well, not necessarily.
Okay. I'm happy they didn't.
But at the end of the day, Dr. Baumia also had been saying that the Electoral Commission should not think that its limited registration exercise forms part of the processes in itself, or it can have any extension or whatsoever to be able to correct whatever it is that it wants to. By what means then we need to have a separate exercise of opening up the register?
Obviously. We can't use this. You see, it's laughable when the commission says we've put together our processes to clean the register. Roland, are you privy to my registration details?
I am not.
Do you know what form of identification I used in registration?
Well, I just told you I used my passport.
No, I'm saying, but before you told me.
No.
You can't tell by looking at one's face. The holder of the document, that tells what sort of information one filled in his application, is the Electoral Commission. Now, the Electoral Commission says, I'm holding that database down. They've not even given to political parties. The Electoral Commission, I'm holding that database. But proceed and come to the registration center and challenge somebody's application. And during the exhibition period, we are not exhibiting, we don't exhibit to challenge. But how do I come to the exhibition center and come and challenge Roland Walker's application when the holder of the documentation that has the evidence of your application is with the commission? How can I succeed in such a quest? So the issue of using exhibition as basis to clean the register, that's a fluke. That one will never work. And ask the commission. Over the last years, since 92 till now, when we've started having the issue of challenge and all of that, how many cases of challenges have they heard and seen through, and names taken off or names allowed to stay on? Every registration period. Very, very small. Very few people you hear they've challenged them, and even though after the challenge, nothing comes out of it. The person will still cast his ballot. This is the only time we're hearing high refusal, high challenge forms, applications in the Ashanti region. The highest ever we've had in any election. Because we all know the reasons why. We're hearing the highest one in the Volta region. We all know why. But aside that, what other challenge procedure has ever worked? So the processes they are talking about, how does it work? Assume as you have been or my great-grandfather in the village who has passed on. How will the commission know that the person has passed on, so I'm exhibiting, so the dead person will come in? We are not saying dead people should not exist on the register. One can register today and die tomorrow. But we are saying as much as possible. And Roland, all of this we're doing, we can never have 100% voters register. It's not done even in America. Even the most advanced democracies in the world, they don't have a foolproof
But you
register.
still think ours is deeply flawed?
If I'm scoring between 100 and 0, I'll score the credibility of our register around 42, 43%.
Really?
I'm telling you. Roland, we have fought with so many issues, particularly with this biometric register, which is supposed to be the most credible period of our register, or the most credible register we should get should be time.
You mean more like the most advanced?
Yes. So if at this stage, because I want us to move from 42 or 45%, let me be charitable and even say 50%, to 75, 80%, which is appreciated by everybody. Because in every exam, when you get 75, I'm sure you're looking good. So at that level, we agree that when there are errors, we can let it go. But where we sit now, the Lord will be our shepherd if we don't do anything about it.
Okay. So if the Electoral Commission doesn't do this and this, or what and what at this point in time, what will you be looking at?
I pray they won't.
What will be your timeline?
I pray
as a team with your legal people.
I'm sure maximum by Wednesday we should hear something good from the commission.
Because we don't have time.
That's what I'm saying. Maximum.
We're in May.
Maximum by Wednesday.
By Wednesday, we're in the second week of May.
Yes. By Wednesday, the commission should start telling us something. Whether we're sitting down to talk on how to implement the ruling of the court, or if not, we'll be compelled to go back to force them to implement the ruling of the court. And that's an option available.
We have only about 4 months to the election.
Yeah. And that's more 5 months or 4 months.
Well, we're in May, June, July, August, September, October. 5 months.
5 months. And so the commission must sit up. In Nigeria, 75 million registered voters. They used 3 weeks to compile, clean, and.
Well, that's what Professor Jega said.
Yes. So
you're saying that we have the time.
We can do it in 2 weeks. We can do it in 2 weeks. I know people who flew in from America just to come and register during this registration period, because they don't. Before they didn't have voters' ID cards. They are determined to vote, so they flew in for 3-4 days. 3-4 days just to register and vote. And I know such people.
Okay. We're talking in here and now, but we all know that the arguments or the perhaps panacea to ending all this is having a national identification system.
Perfect. Because as part of...
Is your team also thinking along that perhaps compelling...
You see, it is not about... The establishment of the National Identification Authority and the full implementation of the National ID Card Program is not an issue for myself and you to sit on the streets and talk, or on TV, on radio, and talk about.
It should be a policy action.
It is at the top. The president should be committed to that cause. If you have a president who doesn't care about it, you will never have it until the tenure of that president ends.
I don't get your point.
President Kufuor, when he started...
You mean unless President Mahama is off before the next president?
No, I've not said that, but I'm saying, when you have a president, regardless of who is there as president, regardless of who is there, it's a political commitment that will drive the health identification process. Because a lot of us feel the moment the identification is done, it invades privacy. It now gives proper database to one's life, and on the basis of that, tax charges can start. The tax institutions will start going through that avenue. Everybody will use that channel. That will be the mother.
As in, they know where you live, where you've worked, your last place of work,
precisely,
because it's updated. Already.
Yeah. So
your criminal record, your what?
So the politicians who are in government today, who are robbing us of our coins, our small money for development, are more scared to see this thing done. So that's what I'm saying. It's an issue of policy, whether you are really committed as a president. So we can shout and scream, we can demonstrate. But if the president is not committed to it, forget it.
Do you think the current president is not committed
to it?
No,
not for a second. Not for a second. If he clearly started from President Mills' time, when he came and withdrew the services of Professor Atefa. You remember? Who was instrumental in
because we started the whole program from the Kufuor administration.
From the Kufuor administration. And I would have expected that the subsequent government that had come in, the same capital injection that went into starting that process would have continued. But they came in and rather, the first 2 years of the NDC administration, They all turned their back on the national identification. They had to even sell their printers. They had to sell their vehicles. They had to sell chairs, ordinary office chairs. They had to auction them to raise money to pay bills, to pay off debts they owed. That's how bad and how uninterested the government was at that time. Until now, it's still the same. But until we have a proper national identification process, we will save the Electoral Commission and the taxpayer so much. Because we don't need to announce we are opening the register from this day to this day for people to come and register again. Because we would have had a national identification database. All the commission would do is to say, okay, 6 months to election, all those interested in casting a ballot to vote in the election, come and validate yourself, come and update your system, and show sign that you want to do it, so that a register is created for that purpose. So
out of the bigger data,
of the bigger data,
which is the national identification system data.
Yes, because when you go to the United Kingdom, every election, if you don't validate,
you don't vote.
You don't vote.
Oh.
So when they are caucusing, that's the time they encourage people to come out and come and caucus and come and validate and show your commitment to voting. So the commission there puts together a database for that particular election. So if the period elapses and you don't go and validate,
so
that's where we should get to as a country. So that after every election, the register is scrapped, it's gone. You understand? So that when you are heading towards the next election, okay, all those who are interested, come and validate. 6 months or 5 months on election, come and validate. So that we have you on the database to say that, okay.
Literally, can we say that if you say come and validate from the national identification database, it means that come and tell us you're interested in voting?
Precisely. When we are picking from
so national, if you don't do that, it means that...
It means that you're not... Because...
But then it's got its advantage and disadvantage.
Why? What are the disadvantages?
It could lead to some apathy in the political process.
Why?
Or people may not be interested because they have an identification system.
Oh, no, because, it is already the case. A lot of people go for the national ID card, not because
it's a personal ID card for them.
Not because they want to cast a ballot. And those people keep their names on the voters register and they create room for the politicians to keep manipulating the results.
I don't get you. If somebody's name is on the register, it's biometric, how does it get manipulated?
In a remote, strong village of a political party stronghold, it's 4:30 p.m. The people on the electoral roll are 800. Out of the 800, there's only 210 who are interested in voting. All the rest, they are not interested in voting, but they just wanted the ID card, so they've gone for it. Some are dead.
So there's vacuum.
There's vacuum. So as a politician, I'll run there and say, oh, I'm able to do my role, I'll say, oh, I'll be back. I'll go and bring people and come in line. I say, let them vote. They'll now start taking people's names. Supposedly,
is that a scenario you're drawing up, or you think that's what happens in our elections?
Oh, it happens every time.
I'm asking you, I don't know.
And I'm saying it happens every time in our elections. This is not new. It happens.
It's new. It should be new to me. I don't.
You are a reporter. It shouldn't even be new to you. More so. My viewers should say it's new to them. But you as a reporter should know. Your reporter should tell you on the ground what happens on the ground.
But we're supposed to be having party agents, so they're supposed to...
Oh, at some point, it's difficult to put up polling agents in all 30,000 police stations. It's difficult. Even the ruling party. They can't. Even the NDC, they can't put up agents in all the 30,000 police stations.
It's
impossible. It's impossible. So I'm saying we shouldn't give room, because if in an election, 210 people go and say, we want to vote, out of the 210, give or take, 180, 190 will come and cast their ballot. I guess you understand me. Right. The rest who don't come, it's not big room enough for you to play around with figures.
Abu Ramadan, when do you intend going back to the court if the Electoral Commission doesn't, or what action do you intend to take if the Electoral Commission doesn't follow through with a ruling at some point in time? Did they give a timeline when they need to do all that?
No, the court didn't give timeline. The court said we didn't have time. The court re-echoed that we didn't have time, and they expect the commission to do things on time. But Sunday I have a big event on Sunday, so after that, myself and Evans will be meeting our lawyers. Then we'll take a decision. That's why I say maximum by Wednesday. But Roland, let me use this medium to thank millions of Ghanaians who have called since yesterday, who started following these processes since
Millions
24.
called you?
Yeah, no, I'm saying.
Your battery is down there.
No, when I give you my phone now, since yesterday and today, I've had almost 900
Well,
phone
I
calls.
congratulate you. I've always liked the way you do your politics, and I
Thank
feel,
you, thank
yeah.
you, Roland. So I want to thank the millions of Ghanaians who have been with us in prayer and in support, and also most importantly, thank those who have helped financially, those who have given us support to help us.
It entails a lot financially.
It's very,
because you have to pay your lawyers.
It's a very expensive.
And yourself, you have to go up and
It's a
down.
very expensive process, and want to thank all those individuals, and also want to thank my lawyers in particular, Nana Santibidi too, and Ame Jiwa Ofos. She's a very wonderful,
Brilliant one.
very brilliant.
I see her entering the car all the time
very brilliant.
After they do the rulings. Okay, Abu Ramadan, thank you very much. We've been speaking to Abu Ramadan, a former youth organizer of the PNC. Well, we're taking a break. When we come back, we'll have entertainment for you.